What's up guys, I'm BTC. Over the summer, Overwatch is getting a pretty big social update, and it looks like Blizzard might be hinting that it could be a faction reputation system. Yesterday, I saw some stuff posted by some of the official Overwatch accounts. The ones for Europe, the French one, and the Spanish one. And I really didn't think too much of it because a lot of times the Overwatch accounts and really any of the social media accounts for all these games, they kind of like just do these things in order to interact with the fans. So I kind of dismissed it and I didn't think too much of it. But a bunch of you guys were contacting me about it and asking me, is this going to be a thing now? So I decided to make this video. There's a lot of stuff that we have to unpack, but hopefully I can fully explain it all. So here are the tweets that kind of kicked off the whole thing, people speculating that Blizzard might be adding factions. So you have this from the Europe account, the French one, and the Spanish one. Now there's a bunch of other ones as well. Obviously you have the main one, which is the American-based one. There's also one for Japan, for Russia, for Brazil, for Latin America. There's a whole bunch of them. But these were the only three that actually posted it, and it kind of seems like these might be controlled by the same person because there's different social media people that control these different accounts around the world. Obviously, someone in Korea is controlling the Korean one. Now, while they all have a level of autonomy where they can retweet things and interact with fans and post things that will be relevant to the local population that's actually going to be reading the tweets, all of these different social media accounts kind of work under the umbrella of the main Overwatch one, and whatever Blizzard tells these guys to put out, this is what they put out. Now, this is why whenever there's a new event or a new trailer, you see all of a sudden all these different Twitter accounts post it at the exact same time. This is also one of the ways that we get leaks, because sometimes they accidentally post it early because maybe there's a time zone mix-up or something like that. Going back to the tweet, it says, during the last 2 years of Overwatch, we've learned about different groups in the game, each with their own agendas and goals. If you had to show your allegiance to one of the 4 factions below, which one would you choose? And there's Blackwatch, Junkers, Overwatch, Shimada Clan. Now, there's a lot of other little kind of groups like the Deadlocks, Los Muertos, Null Sector, that sort of stuff. But there's a huge one missing from this list, which is Talon. And it seems really out of place that Blizzard wouldn't include them. And as it turns out, this was confirmed by the European Overwatch team that, yes, this was just a social media thing where they were trying to drive some fan interaction and just do something neat on Twitter. However, that doesn't mean there isn't going to be the new changes later in the summer. There was something posted on the official Korean Overwatch channel about a month ago. I'm gonna play that clip for you right now.
Focused entirely on improving the play experience and making player behavior positive and more of a positive impact to you, and making sure that our players are not as negatively impacted on it. Now, there are other things that we would like to do and are working on that is not on the punishment side of things. To start making efforts towards players who are exhibiting positive behavior and reinforcing the positive behavior. Early this summer, there will be 2 major social systems coming online that we've built to help encourage positive behavior more. And we have a 3rd system that will come either in the late summer or early fall of next year that's also a tremendous effort towards encouraging players to be better to one another, but also to have more control over their own play experience.
First of all, it was confirmed that he misspoke a little bit. 2 things at the beginning of summer, 1 thing at the end of summer this year. It's not next year. Now, this was only posted on the official Korean Overwatch YouTube channel. This message was never given to anyone else in the world. Now, we know about it because we can go and check out that channel, we can see the forums, and of course, people like me make the videos about it, but Blizzard themselves never actually directed that message towards anyone outside of Korea. and it kind of makes me think that maybe they're not actually adding something for everyone with this new social thing. Maybe it's only for Korea, and that's because of the kind of unique situation that Blizzard has and the way that the Korean gamers actually play Overwatch. So in America and Europe and lots of other places, you have your own computer or your own Xbox or whatever, you buy the game and you play it. But in Korea, a lot of that gaming is done in internet cafes called PC Bangs, and there's special licensing agreements that Blizzard has with those groups. So now looking at it a second time, I'm wondering if those new social systems are going to be only in Korea and not the rest of the world. Now, if they are in the rest of the world, I think the most likely thing is that they're going to introduce a kind of looking for group system, or maybe a group matchmaking system where you can find people in order to fill whatever group you're trying to find in order to go into the competitive ladder. Kind of like what Blizzard has with World of Warcraft, where you're trying to basically find a group to go into a dungeon. You're looking for another DPS, you're looking for a healer, you're looking for a tank, that sort of thing. That seems to be what Jeff Kaplan is talking about when he says you have more control over who you're trying to group with and who you actually play with. And it just seems significantly more effective than what a faction system could do. Because if someone is in a game and they're willing to throw the match and destroy their own SR, why do you think they would possibly care about some sort of global faction reputation achievement thing? They're probably not. If they're willing to put their own SR into the gutter in order to cause their team to lose, they're not going to care about the faction stuff. So how a faction system would likely work if it was added, though, is when the update comes, you join the game, and then you're given the choice. You pick between 3, 4, 5, however many different things there are, and then as you do damage, as you do healing, damage blocked, all that sort of stuff, your faction would kind of grow in strength, and at the end of it, whoever faction ends up winning gets some bonus stuff. Now, they did something kind of similar to this in other games. The most notable one that I can think of was in Team Fortress 2, which was way back in December of 2009. It was the Demo Man versus Soldier, and basically it was a competition for both of those characters to just get eliminations on each other, and whichever ended up with the most got a special item at the end, and it turned out to be this, which is the gunboats, and this was actually really good at the time. Obviously, Blizzard is never going to add stat-changing items to Overwatch, but there are other cosmetic rewards that they could give. Skins, sprays, emotes, all that sort of stuff. And I think that something like that might be a pretty fun activity, a pretty cool brawl, and I actually think it might work really well with the anniversary events, because as it is now, Blizzard doesn't really seem to know what to do with the anniversary events. It's just kind of there, and it's just a bunch of random stuff kind of thrown together. So if they had some sort of competition like this, I think it might spark a lot more interest in it. But even with all that being said, that's not going to fix any of those things that Jeff Kaplan was talking about. The toxicity, the throwers, the poor sportsmanship, all that sort of stuff is not going to be fixed by any kind of faction system at all. If anything, it would be fun, but it's not going to solve the problems. Another thing to quickly address is that supposed leak that happened a while back before the Retribution event, because it's supposed to add credibility to the idea that we're getting factions. This was the leak. Pretty much all of it is complete garbage. Anything that is accurate is likely just coincidence, because the first thing, the Uprising event will have a new mission. Last year's will be back. That was already public knowledge. The mission, Dorado, Omnicrisis, and the characters completely wrong. Winston and Moira getting new skins, that's just a lucky guess. The next character was not defensive, it was Brigitte. We did not get anything with the 1v1 and the 3v3. It was a free-for-all competitive with a new free-for-all map. So just pretty much all of this was garbage. The thing that people are pointing out here is that it talks about all the characters having to pick a side. Basically, regardless of whether they belong to a group or not, Overwatch, Talon, whatever, they're supposed to have to pick a side, and this is supposed to be the faction thing. And for all the reasons that I went over in this video, again, it might be something neat, but it absolutely will not change any of the toxicity, the throwers, any of that issues. And as I mentioned earlier, the faction thing that was tweeted out by the European accounts for Overwatch was just a social media thing that they were messing around with. But even if the faction thing isn't the social changes that Jeff Kaplan was talking about, again, I still think it's really cool for them to do during the anniversary event. So what do you guys think about the possibility of the factions? Or maybe would you prefer a guild system, looking for group, any of that? Let me know down below. Thanks for watching. Make sure to check out my Discord server. Follow me on Twitch and Twitter. The links for that stuff are down below. And remember, always blame the controller, because it's never your fault. Also, special thanks to all my Patreon supporters for helping to make this all possible. If you'd like to see what kind of cool rewards you can get for supporting the channel, check the links on screen and down below.